Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, thank you. It's an honour to join this chamber as the member for Churchlands, and I'm delighted to make my inaugural speech in this place. I begin by thanking the Liberal Party and the electors of Churchlands for the confidence that they have placed in me representing them in this parliament. I also acknowledge and thank my predecessor, Christine Tonkin, for the work and dedication that she displayed in representing the people of Churchlands in her 4 years as the member for Churchlands, and I thank her. I also thank all of my parliamentary colleagues who are here today, above and below, and in particular thank the Premier for honouring me with his presence for this inaugural speech. Thank you, Premier. I take this opportunity also to thank those who have been on the election journey with me over the last 5 years. 2 Lord Mayoral elections and now a state election. I've been very lucky to have an incredible support squad. And as campaign managers and campaign supporters, I thank Cam Sinclair, the Wonder Twins, Declan and Cooper Mason, Paul Nash, Justine Burnett and Gary Mitchell, who is also in the chamber today. There have been many others, but to this core group, I say a huge thank you. It is a particular honour for me to represent the people of my electorate, the electorate of Churchlands, a place where I have lived for almost my entire life, certainly most of my life. I grew up in Floreat and attended Floreat Park Primary School. I went to Hale School in Wembley Downs. I played junior footy for Churchlands Wembley and then for City Beach Floreat. I played cricket for Floreat Junior Cricket Club. I played basketball at Perry Lake Stadium. And I did swimming lessons at Bold Park, badly, and never got past my intermediate despite 3 attempts. I now live with my family not far from the house I grew up in with my sisters Diane, who's here in the chamber today, with her husband Kevin, and my sister Rosalind, watching on in Greece. It's the house where my parents lived for 70 years. To say I'm familiar with the electorate would be an understatement. The place, the people and the spirit of Churchlands and the community is who I am. The electorate is bounded by spectacular beaches, natural beauty and garden suburbs. Many in this place will see it as a bastion of the middle class, and I gratefully acknowledge the good fortune of growing up and now raising my own family in this area. From the Mitchell Freeway across Lake Munga to the coast, the electorate includes the suburbs of Churchlands, Glendalough, Wembley Downs and Woodlands, and parts of City Beach, Doubleview, Floreat, Wembley and West Leederville. After the most recent electoral redistribution, it also now includes parts of Osborne Park and Inaugural. Many Churchlands residents enjoy the great Australian dream of living on larger residential blocks, while a good number of the more than 50,000 residents live in apartment lifestyle. In fact, there is double the number of medium or high-density dwellings in Churchlands compared to the state average. Nonetheless, Churchlands residents understand the need for greater density. And as I've said many times over the last 12 months, I've not met a single Churchlands resident who does not accept the need. But the people of Churchlands are also resolute. That density must be carefully planned, not ad hoc, and must respect the character and amenity of the local area. Alongside the residential areas is the commercial and retail district of Osborne Park, home to numerous showrooms and offices and one of the largest car yard precincts in Australia along Scarborough Beach Road. Churchlands is indeed a diverse electorate, not just in characteristic but in its people. More than 1/3 are born overseas, higher than the state average, while 1 in 5 use a language other than English at home. This culturally varied population was very evident as I made my way door to door. As diverse as the electorate is, both in its people and its places, so too are the challenges and concerns on the minds of its constituents. Yet many of these issues are shared right across Western Australia. Time and again, front doors were opened by young people in their mid-20s, still living with their parents. For many, the idea of owning a home or even finding an affordable place to rent feels out of reach and far from reality. Families on 2 incomes burdened by rising mortgage repayments are struggling under the weight of soaring interest rates. Hard-working people deserve the basic promise that their efforts will deliver a comfortable life. But in Western Australia, the cost of living is climbing and it's getting harder just to make ends meet. Every day, West Australians are grappling with the simplest challenge of paying the bills. And so the familiar story goes on. Parents are delaying retirement because they know they'll need to help their children with home deposits, if they can. Empty nesters, retirees and seniors, 1 in 5 people in Churchlands, have worked hard all their lives. Now inflation is eating away at their savings. Small and medium-sized businesses across Churchlands are being crushed by skyrocketing costs and red tape, which strangles their ability to grow. And families in social housing are trapped. High rents and soaring demand have locked them out of the rental market. I look forward to being able to be a voice for these people and the issues they confront in this parliament. These are the people the Liberal Party have always represented. A broad range of people living in the suburbs, aspiring to get ahead and wanting to do their best for their families. I do so with a firm belief in the values of the Liberal Party, grounded in the philosophy and beliefs of liberalism itself, including maximising individual aspiration and supporting private sector initiative and entrepreneurship, providing everyone with the opportunity to get fair reward for effort. Lean government, which doesn't unnecessarily interfere in people's lives and businesses, but is there to support and care for the most vulnerable. I've been lucky to spend most of my life in the electorate, but that good fortune was built on the hard work and sacrifice of my parents. My mum, Jessie, was one of those Churchlands residents born overseas. Only recently did Mum move into a care facility. For 70 years, she called 21 Highbury Street in Floreat home. But like many of the earliest Greek arrivals in Perth, she was born on the island of Kastellorizo, Greece, in 1929, a few minutes after her twin sister Anne. For 5 years, it was an idyllic life, growing up surrounded by family and friends on an island paradise. Until in 1935, when Mum's parents, Kyriakos and Triantafilias Simeon, decided, like many others on the island at the time, it was time to head to the other side of the world for more certainty and greater opportunity. In something that is almost impossible to comprehend today, but tells us much about the times and family duty of the day. When my mum's grandparents were told of the impending family departure, they replied, "But we'll be left all alone here. Why don't you leave the youngest child with us?" They did. That youngest of 5 children was my mum. At the age of 5, she was separated from her mum and dad, her big brother, her 2 elder sisters, and her twin sister Anne. Only when my own 3 children reached around that age was I able to fully comprehend what it must have been like for her and also for her parents. When I was growing up, I recall Mum telling me the story that as a young girl, after her family had sailed away and left her, every time a ship pulled into the harbour of Kastellorizo, which was often, Mum would race down, often in tears, to see if her family was on that boat returning to her. They never were. Fortunately, some 2.5 years later, a lifetime at that age, with her grandfather's health in decline, her grandmother decided it was no longer right to keep baby Glikeria, her Greek name, and the name that she was known by then, away from her family. And in those pre-war years, preparations were made for her to sail with another family and other locals who were making the trip to Australia. One of the most precious family items we have is a photograph of Mum holding her small suitcase in travelling clothes, pictured with other travellers in her group at one of the Middle Eastern ports that they stopped at en route to their new lives. Mum, although with no direct family members of her own accompanying her on that travelling party, only acquaintances, and at only the age of 7, was wide-eyed, had a big smile and looked confident. It was to be a hallmark of her life and a quality she instilled in me and my big sister Diane and my sister Rosalind. No matter the challenge, whatever the circumstances, be strong, be brave, everything will be okay. Mum's arrival some 2 months later is recorded on the WA Museum welcome walls in Fremantle. Her name is on panel 166. It lists her arrival in 1937 on the ship Esquilino. The joy of the family reunion at the Simeon family home in Palmerston Street, in what we now call Northbridge, was short-lived. It was quickly off to school with twin sister Anne at Highgate State School. For the first few days, her mum was surprised to see her in tears. "Jessie, you come home crying every day. What is it?" This is in Greek, of course. "I thought you'd be happy to be with us all now." "I am, Mum, but I can't speak English, and Anne and her friends don't talk to me at school." That quickly passed, and the Simeon twins quickly got over their separation. Mum learned to speak English, and they have been inseparable and in conversation ever since. Mum has lived a life of dedication and service to her family and to her community. In 1996, the little girl left behind in Greece almost 60 years earlier was awarded an Order of Australia Medal by then Governor Michael Jeffrey for services to the community, in particular the Greek Australian community. Her story has always inspired me. Her strength, her resilience, her drive. This September, the Simeon twins turned 96, both still going strong. And I'm very proud that Mum Jessie is here today to hear her story retold in the Parliament of Western Australia. I hope it will inspire others as it has me. In 1954, Mum married Anthony Zempilas, the son of another Greek migrant couple from Castellorizo, Basil and Dialecti, married in 1927 on the island of Greece, and were soon in Perth. And by 1928, upon their arrival, not long after, my dad's arrival. Dad died last year at the age of 96. He lived a full and happy life. He was my mate and he was my mentor. And he would have absolutely loved this. He's not here, but he's here with me in spirit. I'm wearing his watch, which one day my son, his grandson, also Anthony Zempilas, will wear. Dad was a big man with a big personality. To see him hold court at family functions or behind the microphone as MC at many of the Greek weddings and community events was mesmerising to his young son. Dad would speak, the crowd would go silent, then roars of laughter. How do I get amongst that? I thought. Premier, you can blame my dad. Dad worked with me, with his father, and then after his death in 1961, took over the family business, the Town Hall Fruit Palace at 53 Barrack Street, directly across the road from the Perth Town Hall. Service and small business were in the family. My Uncle Paul owned and operated Paul's Apparel at the bottom of Piccadilly Arcade in the city for almost 40 years. I loved working at my Uncle Paul's shop. And my Uncle Con Zempilas was a magistrate and then Chief Magistrate of Western Australia. He would often remind me, ambition and goals are fine, but don't be obsessed by them, he would say. Work hard today and tomorrow will take care of itself. Like many West Australians, my father ended his working life dabbling in mining exploration. But unlike many of his friends and acquaintances across various business interests, he never struck it rich. Still, even though he had never enjoyed the same good fortune as some of his friends, he only ever revelled in the success of people around him. There was never ever a hint of jealousy. Good luck to him, Dad would say, when news of a business triumph or other great success from someone Dad knew was announced. It was a quality I greatly admired about Dad. In later years, Dennis Cometti said to me, "Only a true friend can be happy for your success." As usual, Cometti was centimetre perfect. In a sentence, he described that great quality of my dad's, which I so admired. Mum and Dad's stories are just two of the many migrant stories that make up the unique, diverse and wonderful communities throughout this state. Stories of fortitude and extraordinary resilience and a commitment to each other, their work, their family and their community. Their lessons for me were simple. They taught me to work hard, use common sense and do the right thing, always. They showed me the importance of the family unit, however that family unit is made up. They showed me the value of contributing to your community and taught me to champion those who work hard and lend support to those that need a hand up. They also taught me to dream big, to be bold, to go for it, that my destiny was in my hands. It was those lessons which set me up for my working life. Mr. Speaker, I joined this Parliament with a background in sport, in broadcasting and media, and more recently in local government as the Lord Mayor of the City of Perth. After 5 seasons at the West Perth Football Club, where I broke just about every bone in my body, except somewhat unfortunately my nose, injuries and an unexpected opportunity meant a premature end to my league career. I want to thank Channel 7 Perth Managing Director Kevin Campbell and my first news director John Rudd for taking a punt on a Murdoch University journalism graduate on the recommendation of Wally Foreman, whom I'd had some interaction with through my studies and waffle footy. I started at Channel 7 as a 22-year-old in February 1994. It was the ride of a lifetime and lasted 31 years. I saw all of the Eagles, and to the Dockers supporters in the chamber, my apologies, and the one Dockers grand final up close. I called the footy for 10 years. I read the sport next to Rick and Sue for 20 years. I went to 9 Olympic Games. I called the Australian Open tennis, hosted Weekend Sunrise, and had the great good fortune to anchor Telethon. Premier, I promise now, the days of you being terrorised by me on my walk around at the Telethon ball are over. What a reminder Telethon is. When we are good at something in WA, we're as good as anyone, anywhere in the world. And that includes in philanthropy and generosity. Telethon used to be the highest raising television fundraiser per capita anywhere in the world. The per capita disclaimer is now no longer needed. Telethon is now the biggest, most successful television fundraiser anywhere in the world, full stop. In this 58th year of Telethon, West Australians have raised a staggering $688 million to help sick and vulnerable kids. We should all share in that pride. I want to acknowledge from my broadcast days also Dennis Cometti, someone I idolised, who then became a colleague and then a mentor and a friend. It was a dream come true to call footy with Dennis. And to paraphrase and borrow from Den, I enter this Parliament optimistically and hope not to exit misty-optically. Radio was another part of my career. And for the better part of 25 years, I was either on AM or FM breakfast radio. The highlight, my second stint at 6PR on The Breakfast Show with Steve Mills, when among other things in 2014 we introduced Perth to the world-famous rumour file. Now there's an irony to standing in this place and talking about the rumour file. Because let me tell you, as the rumour file host, often the best customers for the segment invariably came from this very building. More often than not, the press secretaries for various leaders. Once a broadcaster, always a broadcaster. I'm not about to blow anyone's cover. But to those who went by the code names Polly Waffle, Light on the Hill, one of my favourites, 2 Metre Rita, and Mr. Speaker, a very good afternoon to you and thank you all for your contributions. I think I was subject to a rumour or two myself back in 2020 when a plan was hatched to run as Lord Mayor, and although I had always been interested, I'd grown up with community politics around our kitchen table at home. I couldn't see how I would make the transition from broadcaster to any tier of government. In short, COVID was the answer. Suddenly my travelling days for work were paused, and this coincided with the announcement by then local government minister David Templeman, after a period of 3 years with no elected members, fresh elections for the City of Perth were to be held. I was honoured to become the 18th Lord Mayor of the City of Perth in 2020 and to be re-elected with double the vote and 5 times the winning margin in 2023. Throughout my career, I have had the privilege of being part of and observing elite teams in operation. I believe in the power of teamwork, and to get the best outcomes, teamwork is what does it. When people from different backgrounds with different life and business experiences who have walked different pathways unite behind a common belief, that is when great things can be achieved. Through teamwork and transparency, confidence and prosperity has returned to the City of Perth. I am immensely proud of a huge number of achievements and great progress achieved by our team collectively during my almost 5 years as Lord Mayor. At the top of that list is the restored reputation of the City of Perth, the increased population of the inner city, the huge number of student accommodation beds online, and many more ready to come online in time for the opening of Edith Cowan University. The huge uplift in vibrancy, fast-tracked through a curated year-round world-class events program, which amongst other things has seen Elizabeth Quay activated and become a hub for family-friendly entertainment. The city's local government health indicator score has improved from 67 5 years ago to 88, noting that 70 is the score for sound financial management. It's because of this the city has been able to consistently deliver the lowest rate rises of any major Perth council during that time. Perth's assertive membership of the World Energy Cities Partnership has pushed our city and state's global role in the energy transition to the world. And I'm very proud of the almost $40 million raised in 4 appeals for the Lord Mayor's Distress Relief Fund to help West Australians in their time of need. I'm also immensely proud that we led the charge to champion Australia Day being celebrated on our National Day, January 26. We reclaimed the City of Light tag for our capital city, and in honour of that origin story in John Glenn from over 60 years ago, I'm excited that soon a 7-metre spaceman will pay tribute to that uniquely Perth event near Council House on St George's Terrace. I wish to thank and acknowledge my fellow councillors, City of Perth CEO Michelle Reynolds for her leadership and excellence. And I thank Paul Anastas for his stellar support of me and 2 other Lord Mayors during his 30 years at the City. Mr Speaker, I trust that my 30-year career in the media and my leadership at the City of Perth as Lord Mayor brings another perspective to add to the rich and diverse tapestry of backgrounds, skills and experience here in this Parliament. I reflect particularly on the people on this side of the House who bring with them a wide range of real-life experiences, and I know will broaden my understanding of what it is that makes this state great and what we need to do to secure our future. I thank them and my parliamentary colleagues in this and the other place for the faith that they have bestowed on me to lead the Parliamentary Liberal Party and take on the role of Leader of the Opposition. I hope that my experience can act as an incentive for others that may think their heritage or backgrounds might hold them back. It shouldn't. Take, for example, free dress day at Floriat Primary School back in 1980, Mum, when I was in Year 4. My mum thought it would be a good idea if I went to free dress day dressed in Greek national costume. Fair enough, I thought, until I got to school and it dawned on me while most of my mates were wearing VFL jumpers of their favourite player or dressed as Hawkeye or Radar out of MASH, I was in a white frilly shirt, a sequined vest, a white pleated skirt, long white tights with garters and red shoes with pom-poms. I must have been quite the sight that day at Kick to Kick. Character building stuff. But if you can survive that, trust me, the hurly-burly of this place is nothing. Now wearing normal shoes, it's an enormous privilege to follow in the footsteps of former Liberal leaders, including those that have gone on to become premiers, such as Richard Court and Colin Barnett, and whose wise counsel has been something I am grateful for. I would also like to pay special tribute to my predecessor as leader, Libby Metten. Libby, your support in the early days has been incredibly important. I and the rest of the team are very grateful. We thank you for your commitment to this team and your invaluable guidance and support. I mentioned 2 former Liberal premiers, Richard Court and Colin Barnett, whose achievements and leadership I have admired from afar over decades, and who I am now lucky enough to know personally. Whatever your politics, and for the record, I have and continue to admire politicians from all sides of the political spectrum, it's hard to argue that in leading Western Australia as premiers for a combined total of almost 17 years, the contribution of these two men to Western Australia has been enormous. But that contribution is not only measured by longevity of service, it's measured also in the impact both had on the economic and social development of this state. Their numerous achievements emulated a proud history of leaders, including Sir John Forrest, Sir Charles Court and Sir David Brand, who made bold decisions to support big projects to drive this state forward. From the Goldfields water supply pipeline to the development of the Pilbara, the Ord River Dam and Optus Stadium. From our beautiful regions to our capital city, these projects are monuments to ingenuity that have underpinned our economy. The economic leadership shown by governments willing to think big and forge new trading and investment relationships has ensured that despite our much spoken of isolation and relatively small population, we punch well above our weight in terms of our contribution to the nation's prosperity and our standing in the Asia-Pacific region. It's the reason we enjoy our wonderfully unique and imbibed lifestyle. It's what encourages job creation and investment. It's what generates opportunities to carve out our rightful place on the global stage. We cannot become afraid to dream big. Western Australians deserve strong leadership and a strong voice with ambition to make the most of our special part of the world while protecting it for future generations. Of particular importance over the next decade are the decisions we make on energy policy as we embark on an energy transition. Energy security, specifically access to safe, reliable and affordable energy, has and always will be critical to our economic development. The decisions we make during this crucial era of transition must balance the need for a low emissions future with the absolute imperative of ensuring adequate, affordable and reliable generating capacity. As history shows, our geography and isolation from a national energy grid means we have had to go it alone on energy. Employing that can-do attitude in building and underwriting big energy projects and implementing sensible policy to protect our energy interests, such as the domestic gas policy. And I acknowledge former Labor Premier Alan Carpenter for formalising that policy in 2006. We shaped our future before, and we must do it again. Let's take charge now to protect the way of life that defines us for generations to come. A strong economic future enables a supportive social environment where we can care for the most vulnerable in our community. It will help our creative industries to thrive and ensure that we can protect our unique environment so we can continue to enjoy the extraordinary beauty and wonder it provides, but we can sustain our economic prosperity. The projects that have driven our economic and social development have all made the most of our comparative advantages, most notably the rich endowment of natural resources in this state. While it's important to ensure we diversify our economy to secure a future beyond finite commodities, we must recognise that diversification should remain focused on our natural advantages. Our economy and our population is not big enough to successfully sustain a dilution of effort. Put simply, we cannot be all things to all people. And that brings me to what is, of course, our greatest comparative advantage and our greatest natural resource, that is, our people. From the leaders who have had the strength of their conviction to not only have bold ideas, but back those bold ideas and see them through, to the mums starting a small business from home, to the young people forging careers in the Pilbara, and support workers who go the extra mile to ensure a better quality of life for the person in their care, to the scientists building supercomputers and the stars in our sporting arenas. Western Australians are indeed extraordinary. Whether it's born out of our isolation, our geography, our Indigenous or migrant history, we have harnessed hard work, ingenuity, excellence and innovation to overcome adversity, to nurture excellence and well and truly make our mark on the world. Not bad for a state that makes up around 11% of Australia's population. We are a proud state with an arguably unmatched parochialism that we should harness positively. It's okay for all of us to demand excellence among ourselves and for each other and for our state, our nation and globally. We must ensure that everyone in Western Australia has equal opportunity to pursue excellence in whatever endeavour they choose, no matter where they live, which suburb in Perth, which town or community in the regions, but that through education, sport, science, music, art, social services, the public service or indeed politics, this is the key to our future success. For my part, I feel enormously grateful to have the opportunity to fulfil a role in politics in this parliament as member for Churchlands and as leader of the opposition. I will work hard to achieve for both my constituents and the broader Western Australian community each and every day. I've reflected on the values and experience that have shaped who I am and bring me to this parliament as a proud Liberal. While all of us should be guided by values and principles, adherence to a blind ideology at the expense of a wider common sense perspective does not make for good decision making. This is particularly important when representing others, as all of us in this place do. As the member for Churchlands and the leader of the opposition, I will always put common sense ahead of politics. Policy and legislation based on common sense that is in the best interest of all West Australians should be at the centre of good government. That demands sensible, informed decision-making based on sound evidence, long-term planning beyond the electoral cycle, prudent financial management, good judgment and integrity, practical, realistic solutions, and the ability to change course and, yes, if necessary, admit when you've got things wrong. Mr Speaker, you can be assured that I will lead a team that will demand all of this from the members opposite to ensure excellence from the government and the parliament on behalf of all West Australians. We will scrutinise and question and work collaboratively where we agree. We can and should do no less. I'd like to conclude by thanking my greatest supporters, my wife Amy, who is here today, and our three children, Ava, Chloe and Anthony, who are not here today, who could not possibly have sat through 40 minutes of Dad on his feet. There is no greater responsibility and challenge than raising children. And it is one made considerably easier with the support of someone you love. Amy, I would not be able to do any of the things that I have done or any of the things that I am doing without you on the journey with me. Thank you for your unconditional love, your incredible support and your constant grounding, a role that you have taken on seamlessly from my mum. And there is no greater motivation or driver than knowing you can help shape the future for your children and their generation. Ultimately, much of what we do here is for them, the next generation. As a young man growing up, to me, Western Australia was always a state for doers and dreamers, for innovators and entrepreneurs. That's the West Australia I want for our kids. It's that spirit which sets us apart, and it is that spirit which I will always champion. I pledge to give everything I can to this Parliament to repay the enormous privilege I have been granted to represent my community, the people of Perth and the great people of Western Australia, wherever they may be. Western Australia is the state that I am so fortunate and so proud to call home. We live in the best place on earth. How lucky we are and how grateful I am to be here representing many, not only in Churchlands, but right around the state of Western Australia. Thank you, Mr Speaker.